There are moments in history where we learn about how the church came alive, when it was a source of unwavering moral clarity, when it provided space and resources and other support to build and sustain resistance to forces of injustice, death, and violence. And as a result, through those activities, modeled a way to permanently organize ourselves in community, some call the beloved community, where we care for each other and seek to be in right relationship with all creation. These are moments when the church embodied and reflected the will of God. We witnessed it during the abolition movement here in the US, or in El Salvador, when the church stood up against the death squads, and so many other struggles across history. We should remember these moments not just as examples of what the Christian church could be and was in its genesis, but of what happens when any people come together in the context of struggle and find a way when there seems to be no way. When we reconnect to the spirit that holds and unites us all, keeping that at the absolute center of how we are organized as a society, and letting it guide us in compassion for each other and creation. And let it give us strength and courage to face down the forces of injustice and hate. Throughout history, the organized poor and dispossessed have been keeping the light of this truth burning in the darkest hours, always showing us the way forward. Isn't it obvious that God deliberately chose men and women that the culture overlooks and exploits and abuses, chose these, quote, nobodies to expose the hollow pretensions of the somebodies? God chose what is low and despised in the world, things that are not, to abolish things that are. 1 Corinthians 27-29. God chose the poor and chooses the poor, not because he likes us better, but because they are poor. And what God is stands in opposition to everything that takes and degrades and otherwise violates life. For I am compassionate, God says in Exodus 22:26. God defines God's self as a God of justice and liberation. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. Tonight, we as the Freedom Church of the Poor, and every day as we continue to build a movement of the poor in our times, let us remember what the church really was in its origin and throughout history in moments of great crisis and upheaval. Not necessarily as Christian or Jewish or Muslim or any other religion, but first as a community of people that comes together in times of crisis and under conditions to resist and to guide us back to who we are. Let us be that church and let us be that community.